Greetings, everyone. My name is Kathleen Zemansky. I'm a business feng shui master, astrologer, and the creator of the Time Blazer business management system. And I'm very excited to launch today a pretty exciting program that I'm going to be delivering over the next 3 weeks. Mostly it's going to be Monday through Friday, and then there's going to be a couple times where I'm going to be broadcasting over the weekend because there's some really good things happening that I can help you with. So the program that I am about to present to you is absolutely complimentary, my gift to you, and it's a hands-on program. So here are some of the guided rules of the game for you to actually get some success, sizable. And really, I really want you to stay attuned with what we're doing. And if we do this together, there's just miracles that we can create, right? So the name of the program is Stimulate Your Business. So here in the United States, there's definitely some stimulus things that are happening as far as business that's coming from governments and from big businesses that are also helping. But you know what? It also takes your action to get this stimulus going. So here's another gift to you. Here's my stimulus to you. And so over the next 3 weeks, we're going to be exploring the yin and yang of your business. The yin part of it is going to be the metaphysics, which is going to be the astrology, it's going to be feng shui, and it's going to be using my proprietary calendar called the Time Blazer. And I'm going to tell you a bit what that agenda is going to be. So we're broadcasting live currently on Facebook. We'll try to get some of the other platforms up, or maybe as replays as well on some of the other platforms. But here's the thing. I am not going to say this is going to be a half-hour webinar, because it's not. It is going to go and take a deep dive into all of these different aspects to actually help you. So here's what I would suggest is, number one, you start really with a clear intention that you're going to give it your all over the next 3 weeks, especially if you're someone that is a little bit stranded, that you are kind of like, oh my gosh, I just don't know what to do next, what my next steps are going to be. This is where your reflective Chinese metaphysics is going to help you, as well as it's also going to give you some insights of things that you may not have considered before. The yang side is actually going to be you taking actions outside of this webinar or concurrently while we're doing it. But I really hope that you're not going to multitask, because you're diffusing your good energy. Let's face it, there are statistic after statistic that will continue to say that the more you multitask, the more you are going to not have the best results. So we want you to get results with this program. Okay. All right. So this is what we are going to be doing. But what I would love for you to do right now is, if you're tuning in, or whenever you are tuning in, let me know who you are, where you're tuning in from, and if you could, let's start thinking big, right? What could you do, but within the realm of, really what's possible for where you're at right now. Of course, all of us would love to make $1 million in the next 3 weeks, but let's be realistic. Is that on your radar? If it is, great, congratulations. And if it's not, what I would love for you to start to consider is there maybe like a coaching program that you could do in the next 3 weeks, or open up 10 coaching spots? Or is there a little program that you can put together? Now, this is not that big program that's going to take you, a half a year to deploy. I want you to get some stimulus happening. Start with a lower program and then work your way up to a larger program once you get people into your funnel. So this is how I really want you to start thinking about this. This is practical, hands-on solutions, results oriented. Okay. All right. I'm going to start just getting into a bit of the presentation that I would like to be bringing up. Let me get this centered on the screen a little bit better. And then I'm going to have to put on my second set of eyes here so we can get started. Okay. All right. So this is what we're going to be talking about is let me get my face in here maybe though. There you go. Um, I may pull that in and out as needed. I'll just make myself a little bit smaller, but so that you can see me. Okay, so we are going to be talking about the metal ox, but we are going to be talking about some other things along the way as well. So again, welcome and thank you for joining today. And really, I would love for you to tell other people about this because collectively we can make some powerful things happen. And you might even need an accountability partner to come along the way. So get them joining right from the get-go. Again, we're going to have some replays here available for you, but when you're here live, you have a better chance of actually completing the things that need to get done. If you leave it for the later, and this is time sensitive, especially when we get going further into the webinar, you are going to find that if you act now, you will get results, further into the year. And we are exactly at half year point, if you will, for the year of the metal ox. Remember, in the Chinese calendar, or for those of you who are new, the Chinese calendar always starts in the beginning part of February. So really what we want to think about is this is a halfway point. So there are some really good chances for you to get some amazing things done. Here's our 3-week agenda here. So basically what we're going to be doing is today we're going to be just doing an overview, and we're going to start by looking at some world trends that are astrologically aligned with things that I've been talking about for years, especially at my annual event. I went in a deep dive. We're getting a little bit shortened version of that today. And then the 13th through the 16th, what we're going to be talking about are all 12 of the animals. And you might say, well, I only need to look at one. No, you look at more than your year of birth. You look at more than your month calendar, if you will. So what I want you to start thinking about, I just want to go back to that one. There we go. Okay. What I want you to start thinking about is that this is a holistic system, and this holistic system is pretty awesome in the respect we are able to have certain things like we're in the goat month. It's the month of July in the Western calendar, but it's the goat month. But if you don't know what's happening in the goat month, which I'm going to very much talk about this entire time, because this is what's considered the clash month to the year. It's the year of the ox, and this is the month of the goat. So you might say, well, I don't even have a goat in my chart, so I'm not going to listen to that part. You are really hurting yourself by not hearing what all the energies of all the animals have to relate to. But what we really want you to start understanding is that these animals are going to be, yes, we're going to be talking about your natal chart, but then we're also going to be talking about timing as a concept to trigger energy to your benefit. So you want to stay tuned for the entire 3 weeks. It's going to be jam-packed full of information for you to use immediately. Okay, then on week 2, we're going to start talking about the feng shui. And again, it's all animal and element related, so it's going to be very important for you to understand week 1. You can jump in, obviously, anytime, but the people who are going to be following me all along the way. And then although she's not on camera today, one day we'll try to get Alice on camera as well. But she is going to be moderating the chats, and she is also going to be helping with some questions. So like I said, currently we're on Facebook, so once you're on to YouTube, we'll be moderating that as well. Okay, so then next week then on the 20th, we're gonna talk about and go a deeper dive into the favorable sectors of the feng shui dial, and I'll show you how to get access to all of these tools, because it's gonna be very important for you to have the toolkit for you to, and that's absolutely my gift to you. And then we're going to talk about the challenging sectors. So, if at the very least, people tell me all the time, you know what, I can't really move anything. I can't really because I've got built ins or I've only got one room. That is so not true. That is a close minded way of saying, I do not want to take control of my life, right? So, if you want to have more control in your life, you need to find out what's happening in your life astrologically. What are the boost points? What is going to make you more have a more favorable year? What are the things that are going to get in the way? Number two is follow the good guidelines, the repeatable of empirical data. We know for a fact that when you are in the good zones of your feng shui of your space, and you're going to have more favorable things happening for you. When you're in the more challenging, obstacles will find its way to you. So let's see if we can shift that mindset of just moving. Like I'm on a computer right now. If I need to move my computer into a better, which I'm in a pretty good zone, that's why I have it set up this way, is that we can just be moving our computer around. So that's why, and you know what? Even these puppies are computers at this point, your smartphones. So to say that you are not able to move to a different direction or even go to a coffee shop or things like that, that's really not looking at your life in a really positive way. So let's look at that. All right. Then when we're going into on the 22nd, now this is next week, we're going to talk about the flying star, and then I'm going to talk about some feng shui enhancements that you will be able to do to help your space be more vibrant and more receptive to your goals, because really that's what feng shui is all about. It is helping you achieve your goals. When your space is responding to you in a way that is more favorable, you're going to have amazing outcomes. So this is where I want you to start thinking about how your space can support your goals versus repelling. But one of the big repellents is yourself. A lot of times it's like, oh, I can't do that. Oh, that's too much trouble. Oh, I don't have time. Well, you know what? If you have been struggling, maybe you need to start making time to make different decisions about how to make your life a little bit easier. Then we are going to go into, and this is going to start on Friday. It's going to be July 23rd. It's an amazing remove day. So I might shift the time a little bit to accommodate that for you, but it's a remove day. And what we do is remove things that are no longer serving you. We make space for things that, because when you remove something, you can now fill it in with something that you want. So this is where this is going to help you as well. Okay, and then the following week, it's going to be all time blazer, but I'm going to be integrating constantly the tools that I've already taught you, which is going to be the astrology and the feng shui. And then this is where I said at the beginning of the webinar, we want to launch something by July the 30th. Now, you may choose another day as well, but we're going to want you to actually make some money by watching this free webinar. So I need you to just maybe take some reflection time away from what we're doing right now, so that after you've listened to me, what is it that you would like to do in 3 weeks? Like, do you need um, you know 3 new coaching clients to hit that bottom line at the end of this month, or do you need 10, or do you need more than that? But start thinking of what you can launch, and it might be just a webinar series to get people into a funnel into the following week. So don't think of a massive big project unless you have been working on that massive big project and you are ready to launch. But otherwise, what I want you to do is just think of a small program that can help you make, like maybe $500 or $1,000 and more, depending on how big you are already scaling your business. Okay. All right. So now let's get into All right, the first thing that I want you to do is I want you to hop over to my astrology software, because this is the thing that is going to be your one of your big roadmaps, if you will, is your astrology chart. So go to freebusinessastrology.com. Alice will always put those comments into Facebook as well, so that you will be able to grab these tools, okay? All right. Now, this may sound crazy, but I am going to go back in time to the metal rat. And the reason that I'm going to go back to the metal rat is because this was at the beginning of a cycle. And my covers of my books, by the way, are always actually an indication of what the year is going to be like. So one of the things that the year was, you can see it's actually kind of, blues and grays. So it's a cold year. So it was the beginning of a 12-year cycle, if you will. It was the beginning of a decade, and we are actually at the end of a cycle, which is we're going to be going from period 8, which is more about earth energies, and going into period 9. But we have to look at the animals in an astrological sequence, if you will. So in 2020, this is the year that I was standing on stage. This was still a live event. And I told people to start watching out for, and this was before the pandemic hit. I was talking about the concept of super viruses, and that all of us were going to be wearing face coverings, before the end of the year, because it was going to be a really pretty, pretty wild ride when it came to the super viruses, if you will. And at a break, I had people who had been following me for years said, Kathleen, there is no way. I know they do that in other countries. There's no way we're going to be wearing masks. How many of you wore masks in 2020? And even into 2021. All right, well, let's just keep moving forward. Now we're into the metal ox. And again, this is the cover. This was the cover for my my book and my event this year. As you can see, it's still a very cold year, because the ox is, if you will, it's at the end of the winter cycle, if you will. So the rat was part of that cycle. Animals before that as well. I don't want to get into too much theory here, but the ox is still part of it. But it's a yin metal ox. And a yin metal ox, I don't know how many oxens you see with a diamond garland around its neck. You don't really see that. So it's a little bit of drama. But we do have a little bit of water in this particular. So there's earth, metal, and water in this particular animal of the ox. And what this means is that there is going to be contamination within the year. So this can be looked at in many different ways: contamination of food, contamination of ideas, contamination, in the political front. You've seen it. It's not anything that you haven't seen on the news. But what I'm trying to correlate is, astrologically, we knew this was happening. So when you know ahead of time how these animals and elements are going to perform for you, you have a better chance of planning out your year for success. Okay, so as we move forward, let's see what the ox has to tell us. So this program is designed around a very classical pillar, if you will, or tenet of classical feng shui, which is the cosmic trinity. And so it's talking about the person, which has, if you look at your chart, you can make 33% of the decisions just by following your astrology alone. Then if you look at the space, especially if it's personalized to you, then we look at, and by the way, I think it's very, very much worth mentioning. I practice classical feng shui. So we're going to be using an accurate floor plan. So this is something you're going to want to start to think about bringing into your toolkit. And, and I do want you to have an accurate floor plan. So there's a number of different ways that you can do that. I'll talk a little bit more deeply about that when we start talking about the feng shui, but you really want to start thinking now for next week when we're talking about the floor plans that maybe I'll show you what a client supplied to me, like, oh, I can draw an accurate floor plan. And then I was like, no, I can't use this. And then what her plan looked like after she had it professionally drawn up, because it's precise. If you want precise results, you have to use precise tools. Any carpenter will tell you, or any artist will tell you, any writer will tell you, any professional, that if you're using the right tools, you can get much better results. If you're trying to cheat the system by, oh, I don't really need that, you're going to get less than favorable results and actually potentially even trigger something that's not good for you at all. So please hear me when I tell you, you need to have an accurate floor plan. So call a designer. There's many apps on the market right now that you can do your own. I honestly have not found one. If any of you listeners have found a very accurate one that can go around furniture. Now, those apps work if you don't have any furniture in your space, but I know my office and home is completely furnished, so it's not going to go around and it reads those as angles. So just watch out for that. And then there's, architects and interior designers, or, people like that can draw that up for you as well. Okay. Just doing a hair check here, sorry. All right, and then what we have here is the favorable timing, which is 33% as well. Now the Time Blazer, like I said, is my proprietary calendar that is based on the ancient knowledge of the Tong Shu. So it has the yin and yang of the 5 elements. It has the animals of each and every day, because it's like a birth chart every single day, right? But what I'm trying to express here, you might not be able to do much with there's nothing you can do with your astrology chart. You're born. You were born with certain animals and elements. What you can do is properly use your chart, and everybody has potential in their chart, everyone. Now, that does not mean that every year is going to be smooth sailing. There's going to be years that it's going to be like living hell for you. And then other years that's just going to be wonderful. But what we can say, even in the year of the metal ox, frankly, you may be having a fantastic year, but if you turn on the news or if you ask your neighbor or a loved one, they might just be crumbling to pieces. Why? Because they are not able to figure out and navigate what's happening throughout the year. But even if they are, there are going to be, life is never perfect. Life is messy. And this is one of the reasons why. I'll tell you my story on another day on how I even got into feng shui, because I know this one's going to get a little bit long, so I don't want to extend it right now. But I promise you, I will tell you my story before it's all over. Anyway, what I want to express here is that the timing piece of it is the thing that you have 100% control over, mostly. When I say mostly, is you may have a date and time that has been scheduled by a third party or another party, and then you have no choice. But if you have control over scheduling your important meetings, your important launches, like a website, a program, a book launch, those kinds of things, then you actually get more control out of the results. If you are dependent on somebody else, well, with the Time Blazer, at least you can see what's happening in the date and time. But what I'm trying to say is we want to give you the most control possible, right? Okay, and then with the space, like I said, sometimes people say, I really can't do anything, I can't really move or whatever. Well, then just get into the vibrant areas of the space. But this cosmic trinity is, in some respects, I believe is a little false in the respect that you have 33% control of your life with the person, 33% control with your space. I would say, depending on what year it is, you have more control over your person in space. But the time, you always, if you are the one selecting the date and time, you will have 100% control over some of the outcomes. Okay, this is our operating system for the year. We're in the year of the metal ox. I'm not going to go too much into it other than the fact that I do want you to note the colors of these charts. This is the 5 elements that I'm going to be going into very soon. And hopefully by now you have downloaded your own chart. By the way, you're going to want to make a screenshot of it. And what I would also do is download the charts of your friends, your staff, people, especially the people that you're having some challenges with, because you can understand what's going on in their life a little bit by understanding, oh, is it an effect of the year, or are they just like really not nice people? But this is where I want you to start thinking beyond just you. Think about how we can help others as well. So the year of birth, we can look at it with this chart, but with your chart, what I want you to understand, your year of birth is going to be about your networks, your networking efforts, and your market expansion. It's also about your brand, your reputation. I am going to repeat this to ad nauseum because it is so important. It depends on which pillar we're talking about, on what and how it affects you. So this is about your friends, social circles. Your month is going to be about your career, what you're best suited at doing, and your character. Your day is about you. This one is so important. It's about your partnerships, and it is about your mindset, your personal growth. So this one obviously is pretty important because I believe your day and your mindset really influence everything else that's in your life. Your hour is about your goals, it's about your investments, and it's about your legacy. So it's a very important pillar to consider as well. All right, let's talk about some global trends, if you will, that I think are definitely worth talking about while we're looking at things that are happening in the news. Well, number one, one thing that you've been seeing, and I talked about at my annual event at the top of the year, is cyber fraud. Now, how many times have you seen, especially if you're US based, but I know this is happening in other countries as well, that we have the cyber fraud that's happening and proposed either from other countries outside of the U.S. that are hitting, and it has hit grocery store chains. It has hit gas. It has had fuel and oil. It has hit definitely food chains, and now some of these attacks are going after small businesses. So number one, make sure that you do have good fraud protection, firewalls. There's a number of different services out there, and something that I would definitely be doing on a regular basis is changing your passwords. Just make it harder for the bad guys to get in, and be very savvy about clicking on URLs, whether they be on social platforms or even coming through text messages. Let me give you an example. I won't tell you the name of this, but I spent literally a half a day trying to figure out how to deal with this. I made a payment. Well, I guess I can tell you. I won't just tell you the carrier. I made a payment, an auto payment, just right out of my banking account. I made an auto payment for my mobile service, and within 24 hours I got a from what looked like from this company a text message that said, your auto payment has been declined, click here to make payment. And I almost paid it. It was over the weekend. I was just kind of like scrolling through my texts from, what I needed to take care of. And I went, So before I clicked on that click, I went to my banking where I knew I had enough money to pay for the bill. and to see whether that payment had been refuted or not. And no, it had been. So I waited till Monday. I called the carrier. Oh my gosh, I went through so many different departments to finally get to the fraud department. And the fraud department basically said, has nothing to do with us. This was, kind of a phishing spam for you on your phone. And so really what you need to do is call the FCC, which is our kind of like big fraud, if you will, for things like that. Didn't have time to sit another day or so on the FCC site or finding the right way to do this. But what I'm trying to say is, please be careful before you click twice on allow, because we're so trained to hit allow, or click on this link. And it was really such a close URL to which I never clicked on the link to find out what it was, because why? It would have given access to my entire ecosystem, because everything's hooked up, right? My phone and my computers, my tablets, they're all hooked up, and that would have just been the entryway into. Fraud is huge, and it's going to continue to be huge as we go into period 9, because technologies are in the fire zone of the elements, which I'm going to be talking about in just a little bit. So please, please, please watch for fraud. We are going to see a lot of, and unfortunately this trend is going to be trending up. We're going to see more warfare. We're seeing it all over the place, all over the world. It's not secluded to one area. So we are definitely looking at that. The economy is kind of bonkers. The first half of the year was not very nice because of the shutdown. We do look like we're, doing other global shutdowns again. So do keep in mind that, the stimulus that has happened may come to a screeching halt. And I actually think it will. People certainly are fed up of being in lockdown, but it is proven that that might be some areas where that's gonna happen. So we're gonna see some continued health issues, obviously, and we're gonna especially see it in super spreader events. So here in the U.S., we just passed our 4th of July, which is our Independence Day. And so, a lot of people were out. All of the states pretty much have opened up to no restrictions, no masking, and things like that. We have this variant that has come in. So we are going to see super spreader events. We just had the World Cup that was held in the UK. People are flying into, different countries. So it just takes one to get those events, the super spreader happening. Now, the Olympics are happening in Japan. Japan has taken great lengths to close out the Olympics to spectators, but literally thousands of people and their teams and their coaches and the health teams and all of that, they're still flying in. And again, we all know that it doesn't take much for something to spread. So we are going to be seeing this as well. And I do want to mention as well, let's think about an ox as an animal. It's a herd animal. And we still do, I suppose, have an opportunity to get herd immunity when it comes to the vaccines that they're talking about. But there's also a good deal of the country that is in another herd that is either choosing not to get vaccinated, or they don't have access to the vaccination in some of the more third world countries. And so until a true herd immunity happens, my prediction is these super spreaders, this is going to continue on. I think into next year. We're going to be going into a spring year, the first animal of spring, where things start even growing, if you will. But it is going to be in 2022. We're going to be looking at the water tiger, but we as humans, we have to take action ourselves to make certain things happen. So either protect yourself, but that means you stay in lockdown, or you would need to look at a way of protecting yourself and others. So anyway, so it is about herding things together. So this also goes into um, some other things like advocacy, and we see a lot of advocacy happening and protesting around the world for activism of anything you want to choose, you name it. There is a group out there that is trying to make change. So this is a positive that will happen. Okay, we're seeing climate change all over the place. I mean, if you look at some of the things that are happening in the US, for sure, we've got half of the country that's on fire or scorching hot, ready to just explode. We actually had an earthquake here in California. I don't know if that hit global news. It wasn't a real big event, as in there wasn't a lot of, well, there wasn't fatalities. If there was fatalities, that's when it does hit global. But we do see on the East Coast where we've got, we just had a pretty big hurricane that just came through the eastern part of the United States, but things are happening all over the world. It's just not in the U.S. that things are happening. So climate change, it's very clear that it's here, and again, it's our choice as humans to start reversing or at least trying to control that. But if we stand the way we are right now, going into period 9, we're going to be scorching hot over the entire year. But then this is this problem of, too much of anything, too much heat, too much water. So we've got that's going to be happening as well. Now the metal ox, as I said, it's a bit murky. It's very contaminated. So we do need to watch out about that. What is probably kind of going a bit out of fashion, if you will, is retail, like brick and mortar. I see it across the board. I've seen it. I've seen it happen to many industries over time. And I was just even telling my husband the other day about how I see the car industry is kind of the next one on the chopping block here in the US anyway, mostly due to what happened in the last year and a half with lockdown. But I also see that, people are more acceptant of online shopping, whether it be for your groceries, whether it be for your clothing, computers, electronics. I mean, you name it, it's there. I have a client who actually bought a piece of real estate, moved across the country, and the first time she saw her new living quarters was the day that she walked in the door with the moving trucks. She bought it completely 100% sight unseen, including removing any of the contingencies as far as looking to see if there were any, I'm a loss for words right now, but anything that would take care of removing the contingencies, like a broken furnace or something like that. But she bought it sight unseen. Moving trucks moved in, and she's in there. And she was lucky because she bought before this big real estate jump that we have right now. And sorry to say, that real estate jump, it's going to take a while before, I believe it's a bubble. And I do believe that prices will come down, but it's going to be a while before you're going to be able to afford any real estate. But what is happening is everything is going online. So anything online, including education, is a good power move. So get something that your knowledge base. So thinking ahead again, what could be a good power move for you over the next 3 to 8 weeks? Teach something. Okay, pharmaceuticals are definitely going to be up. There's a lot of people that are in need of healthcare, if you will, and so pharmaceuticals are going to be up. Any type of delivery service, whether you are the one that is creating the product, whether it be a physical product or a digital product, all the way to being a fulfiller of that, like you are the person that's actually delivering product A to client B, if you will. Those are all up. Taking care of people, there is really a strong need, especially in the healthcare sector. There's not enough people to take care of the people that need the help to, and I'm not just talking about, the virus that we've been talking about. And so what I'm also talking about is, there's a lot of other health issues that obviously are happening. The U.S. especially has an aging population that is bigger and more in need than younger, because there's not as many young people as there are old people. So that birth rate is also causing some issues, and that's a global thing as well. But there is a lot of need for healthcare as well. What's going to be up, as we've seen, is definitely exploration into space. So at the beginning of the year, I think it was early as maybe even February, Elon Musk with SpaceX was, doing multiple in kind of collaboration with the government, but the U.S. government. But over the weekend, Sir Branson went up with his first, which I watched it. Unfortunately, there wasn't a live feed from him, but it was pretty amazing to watch that first exploration. And I'm going to date myself just a little bit. I remember exactly where I was when man first stepped on the moon. And shout out to my friend who might be listening to this at the same time. I was with you on a beach in Lake Michigan, and I was very young back then. Okay. Luckily, but anyway, so, and then, Jeff Bezos is going up with his brother and a few other people. I think an 80-some-year-old woman who has wanted to go up in space forever. Don't quote me on the age, but anyway, gaming is going to be up. For those of you who are into that, that definitely was a strong pastime of yours over the last year and a half. Solar for sure, and then activism, especially in this year. I really believe that if you can put yourself behind a cause, choose one that hopefully is benefiting the world in a very passive way. I think this is a really nice thing to get involved in, but activism, because it's a herd, it's definitely a herd event, if you will. Okay, now what we're going to talk about now is the 5 elements. I'm going to talk about them all individually. And again, what I want you to start doing is looking at your own chart. And my software is color coded, so it should be pretty easy to kind of follow along. But just in case that you have any doubt at all, I'm going to go over the color coding, because it's not going to say exactly, even though there's a key on the side of the astrology chart. I'll talk more about the astrology when we go into that tomorrow, but I want to get the elements spoken about first. Okay, so the fire element is going to be red. I'm just going to talk about the elements. I'm not going to talk about the controlling and all of that kind of stuff. That's for another time. But the fire element, we're going to talk about these individually, but not the controlling and weakening and producing cycle. The earth is going to be more this tan color. There's going to be yin and yang in your chart, so closest to this more yellow tan color. Metal is going to be more of this gray color. Water is going to be blue, and wood is going to be green. Okay. All right. So again, you can start seeing on this is the annual chart, but your chart is going to look similar to that. And what I want you to start looking at are these elements here, which basically looks at these archetypes. I'm not going to get into the archetypes today, but just letting you know that you may have blank some of these. You may not have all the 5 elements in there. That basically means you miss out on some opportunities, but here's what I want you to start thinking about instead. what can I do with the elements I have and not worry about what I don't have? If I don't have $20,000 to, I don't know, to buy, this whatever thing that I wanted to buy, um, then I can't really talk about it. What I can do is start looking at the other elements and see how I can build to get $20,000. But if I don't have it, I don't have it. So then this is the yin and yang, which is basically this chart, but just taking all of them together and looking at the yin and yang. This is separately. This is the yin and yang together. So again, this is your entire chart put into this below. Now this is going to be more important further on, but for right now, really what I want you to do is just kind of look at, do you have the yin and yang? Look at this right here, and then you can also reference your chart when I'm talking about the elements starting now. All right, we're going to start with metal because it is one of the stronger elements. Remember, it's a yin metal ox, and there's metal, and we're going to talk about both yin and yang. I'm not going to separate them out. So we're going to talk about the yin part. That's the top part of the chart, and then there was a little bit. As a matter of fact, let me go back one. Can I go back one? Yeah. Look at here. Here's yin metal, and there's a little bit of metal in the ox. Not that I really need you to learn all of these by heart. I just wanted to demonstrate. There's a lot of metal. Metal over here and metal over here. There's a lot of metal. It's 100% metal. So there's a lot of metal in the year, if you will. Okay. Back to metal. All right, so one of the things that I want you to think about when you're thinking about the metal is that it is very good for structure, it's very good for discipline. So when you're thinking about the systems, justice, that kind of thing, this is really what it is going to be about. But there's some other things that I want you to think about when it comes to metal. Now, this is going to be about respiratory or lung disorders. What is this whole virus thing about? Lung and respiratory. So we know it's going to go all the way through, at least through this year, because this is one of the strongest elements of the year. Okay, there might be some skin infections, if you will, either on your own, or maybe you picked up again something by touching something, because the skin is considered a metal element. Your lungs and your skin, and even your bones, and I'm going to be very general because some of them go from metal to fire, or metal to there's different combinations. I'm just giving you a broad big brushstrokes. Okay. All right. As far as industries are concerned, metal is good for legal, finance, acupuncture, right? Because of the metals, right? So Chinese herbs would be more into the wood, but this is metal. So chiropractor, because it's adjusting your bones. Professional organizers, because they put things in order. It's a little bit earth as well, because it is, kind of taking care of something. But anyway, it's metal is all about systems. So systemizing this year, since it's so strong. And if you have metal in your chart already, this will also help you kind of get more of that. Now, it may be, everyone's going to be different on those 5 structures. I should have pointed that out. I think I'm going to go back and point that out right now. Oops, go the wrong way. So your wealth element can be any one of these 5 structures. This is just using the annual chart. So please know that metal might be wealth to you, or it might be your networks or creation and all that. We'll talk more about what those mean when we're talking about astrology, but basically it should be pretty clear. If your wealth element is any one of these elements, wealth is about money, power is about power, really having more control, resource is about getting support from others. Networks are the people that you know and people who can help you. And then creation is, what do you create? Like, is it a product, a service? It could be a child. It could be, just things that it's your creations. So this is how you read the 5 structures. Okay, again, back to the metal. What I want you to think about is creating your SOP, your standard operating procedures. This is something that's going to be very, very helpful for you. This could be your CRM and list building. I wish I had a link right now, but I'm changing over my CRM. I'll get that in another time because it really is a great CRM that we're doing. And one of the things that we're doing is we're massively looking to help support our clients better. That's why I'm switching CRMs. Anyway, so taking care of your clients is really more the earth part of a CRM, but building that list and putting things into order and organizing them the way that you want them to be, that is going to be more metal. You know, getting your client intake forms and, you know, like figuring out all of that stuff, that is really a metal attribute. Now, some of you might say, I don't really like doing that. Well, find somebody who will versus I'm not going to do it, because these are things, if you're in business, and especially if you are a solopreneur or just have a small team, it's got to go on the shoulders of someone. So this is where I want you to start thinking about how this can help you. Okay. All right. Then what we're also looking at as far as kind of personal attributes with metal, that is having a high moral standard, courage, discipline, self-control, and kind of rules and order, if you will. So it's about boundaries, having very healthy boundaries, and not being a control freak. It's just, you know, sometimes saying no, no, I can't do that. No, that is beyond my scope and capabilities. It's also about willpower. So a lot of people sometimes when it comes to health, like they just really don't want to they just really don't want to um, you know, do certain things because it's change. Well, metal will help you make some changes because it helps you with willpower. And it's very good for time management. I also have that system called the Time Blazer that was going to help you with that, especially if you are someone that has a little bit of difficulty with managing your time, because managing your calendar is a top CEO move, you guys. So we really need to you know, really incorporate that into our life. All right, let's talk about water. Again, look on your chart and see where water is for you. What are the 5 structures? Is it? Is it wealth? Is it resource? But more importantly, you know, kind of where's that water showing up in your natal chart? Look for that colored blue. All right, so global warming is definitely within this realm of water. We're going to have some extreme flooding. We've seen that just last week, and everything's starting early. I even heard on a news broadcast that this is really talking more about fire because I live in the state of California. Basically, you know, we're having a year-round fire season. It's no longer starting in October like it was when I first moved to California several years ago, several decades ago, actually. You know, we could expect the fire season to be, you know, a briefer time. But now that we are in severe drought going into 2 years, water problem, then that's where, you know, the fire takes on too much potential. But on the East Coast, they have too much water, and not enough of the elements to dry it out, whether it be wood that soaks up the water, or earth that absorbs it, or fire, because the water would be the water is stronger on the East Coast of the U.S. So you can expect a lot of rain, hurricanes. You know, it's not unheard of that we're going to have definitely tsunamis throughout this year. The other thing that we have to watch about in a water for the water element is espionage. So we are seeing this. This is again something that um, you know, certainly. You know, there's controversy over because of the virus that we are doing contact tracing and all of that. Well, that just also opens up to the potential of, again, fraud and all of that. Again, reminder, be careful what you click on. Be careful what you allow as far as your apps and things like that. Because again, we're just so programmed to say yes, 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 because we want to get to the prize, right? We want to get to that app that we just downloaded, or we want to get to that cool thing that we just saw online. We want to get to that, and so we ignore some of those real important steps along the way. So be mindful of that. There's definitely there's fear when it comes to certain things, and that's a water attribute for sure. Fear about recession, fear about the economy, fear about health, things like that. And then, like I said, privacy is something you really want to watch out for. So industries that can do really well if water is a favorable element for you, or water is in your chart, is being a PI, or a private investigator. So detective work is definitely going to be going up. Research definitely is within the realm of, so researching things really well is going to help you. So this is a good year, if you will, to do some reflection. This is very good for water. I mean, just think about when you look in water, especially, a very flat, lake on a very, sunny day, and you look in, you can see your reflection. This is why we call water reflective. So when you think about water, think about reflecting about your personal story. I think we're going to see some pretty amazing stories come out of this last year and a half, and it's not going to be all sad stuff. The sadness and tragedy a lot of times will bring opportunity. So look on the, everybody deserves when you're going through a tough time, everyone deserves to go through that period of detachment, grief, whatever it is, that emotion, and go through it fully. Because if you don't, then that's what comes back and bites you in the butt. But what I want you to do is think about what are the jewels that came out of it. I've heard it over and over again. I know many cancer survivors. I know many people that have survived the virus that were in pretty, but I also know people who didn't. But what are some of the things that came up? You always hear there's always a lesson in this somewhere, and I don't know what it is right now. Well, you may not know what it is right now, but hopefully it will reveal itself. Document it, because it's worth celebrating, is what I'm trying to say. Okay. So let's see. That's actually all I have for you on water. Water industries, though, are anything to do with transportation, anything on the water, like researchers and things like that. That would be something that you could definitely put into the category of water. All right, let's talk about Earth. Now, Earth, we're going to see quite a bit of shifts in the Earth. Like I said, we did see an earthquake here in California. Again, it wasn't a real big fatality news catcher, but it was like a 6.9. That's pretty big for an earthquake. If it had hit an area that was more populated, I think we would have seen more. I do know just from the newscast that there was damage to some people's businesses and homes, but again, it wasn't like a big earthquake that happened in a major metropolitan area. Sorry for those of you who did experience what you did experience, but again, I don't know if it got that big notoriety, because unfortunately sometimes news goes for the most fatalities and things like that. We are definitely going to see some landslides throughout the year, through the end of the year, and then human trafficking. That's actually, unfortunately, an Earth category. We're going to see that, and digestive issues. So again, we talk about this year having contamination. So do watch to make sure. There was just a big recall on poultry last week. But do make sure that you are sourcing your food, whether it be from a farmer's market to a major grocery chain, to your takeouts, or in dining purposes, do make sure that you're watching your digestive tract. Okay, industries that are very good for the earth energies are going to be healthcare, healing, nutrition, anything to do with wellness. So anything to help your clients as well in these sectors, if that would be a fit. I mean, obviously, if you are, um, what am I trying to say? What would be an industry that I could be talking about? You have a um, airline, no, let's just say you have a car dealership and you are selling cars. You probably are not talking to them about nutrition. You're probably talking about add on like financial, like the safeguard on your car, or extra warranty and stuff like that. You're not talking about food and their health. Now you might talk about safety features, but well, there you go. Talk about the safety features to help sell cars. That would be something that would be to fit in line if you've got a lot of earth in your chart. And then the real estate, the first part of the year was pretty stagnant. Now it's skyrocketing off the charts. I did talk about at my annual event, like there's that sweet spot, because once you miss it, where you now have to wait, potentially, another few years. And usually we see dips in the real estate during earth years. The next earth year that's going to be coming up is the dragon in 2024, but it may not be until 6 years from now, or yeah, in the year of the goat, where we're going to see another big dip. So hopefully we'll see that. Now, real estate and anything to do with the dirt industries, anything to do with architecture, building, the contractors and things like that. Even though business is up for them, what the biggest problem is demand. Not demand. Excuse me, is supply. Is finding the product to help actually build and construct. And so there's a big delivery issue that is happening. That's water, transportation, and then there's also production. The materials are not there, so that can slow up this earth element because the supply is going to be a problem. So earth is also related to your assets, and your IP. So if there's something that you can control, is your own intellectual property. That's why I'm saying that, if you have a product or service that you can deliver to people, that would be really good for you. So education is on the rise, especially online training. Literally, you can learn anything online today, from going to YouTube all the way to a college degree. Now, hopefully, people are not practicing, like medicine and things like that. Hopefully, they're getting some hands-on work. But I know they are, because I've seen students in some of the medical facilities I've been in over the last few months. Okay. So really what you want to think about is balance when it comes to earth, and not losing your balance, because that would be a very easy thing for you to do. So nurture, try to sustain some balance in your life. So that's what I would do with the earth element, is try to seek some balance this year. All right, wood. The wood is there's a lot of metal in this chart this year, of the annual chart, that operating system that I talked about. So there is, wood, because by the way, there will always be wood in every year, because the year starts in the tiger month, which is February. So we'll always have wood in the chart, but how much wood and what is either controlling it or making it weaker or stronger will depend on what else is in the chart. But we do know that, remember, we saw 100% full of that one part of the 5 structures that had complete, full of yin and yang metal. So it's going to be chopping at the wood. So we do need wood, though. We need all the 5 elements, but the wood is really going to be about expansion and growth. And it is also, helping you, like when you prune a tree. This is very important. Like you could let any type of tree just kind of go any which way it wants. It will grow, kind of without any support or anything like that. Nature will take its course and the tree will grow. The seed will plant itself and then it will grow. But if you want to prune a tree for it to bear better fruit, or for it to have a better canopy that it will shade your yard in a better way, there's probably some times that you're going to want to get in there and prune that tree to put it into the shape that is much better for your use. If you don't really care, then out in nature, you go out and walk in the woods or something like that, then you get what you might get, which means crowding trees because it's fighting for the earth, or it's very difficult to see in a forest that has not been maintained in any shape. You're going to see all kinds of things happening that might deteriorate a tree that is set apart, allowed to get the right amount of sunshine, nutrients, earth, water, and again, the pruning to shape it into what we want it to be. Why do we want to do that? In the business world, we want our products to be beautiful. We want them to shine. We want them um, to develop and grow into the things that we want them to be. So that does take some care, and the other elements are what is going to make it more suitable for that. Okay, so what I would say is, if you've got wood in your chart, do not be afraid of the change. Actually guide it in the direction that you want it to be. Embrace it and really decide where you want it to grow and in what direction. So wood is very good for your sales or your sales team if you're lucky enough to have a sales team. And this is about speed to market. Let's get it out there very, very quickly. So we've got 6 months left, and I'm going to even challenge you. We're going to get something speed to market just in the next 3 weeks. So this is something about really being on the ball, really getting out there and doing the things that are very helpful for you. Some of the other industries that are going to be very good is writers, teachers, anything creative. So if you're an artist of any sort, basically this is what it's going to help you to do. Any type of woodworker, construction, if you're working, excuse me, especially with wood products, this is very good. And this is also good for networking. When you think about yin wood, especially, it's like a vine, and it will attach itself to. Never been a good weather person. I'm always on the wrong side of the screen. But just imagine my one hand just kind of growing up, the trunk of a tree or on a trellis. This is about intertwining different vines, because it's more than one typically, that creates and covers something. So it covers a territory. So this is what networking is to, bring your business and then, have it come to someone else, and then they just keep referring you and things along the way. So this is why wood is very, very important for your sales. It's also important for your network. So just choose good networks for you. And because the world has gone online, you are able to start networking around the world, and you can start really targeting, hey, I want to target people in Australia, or I want to target people in South America or in Europe, wherever it may be. If that is suitable for your product, service, or program, why not? Or why not try, you've got a area that you're pretty well, or maybe the industry itself that you're in is saturated where you're at, then why not branch out to a different geographic area? That's what wood can help you do. So this is a very important thing for you to consider. So wood is very good for creativity, your ambition, and wood also helps bounce back very early, very quickly. Now, especially yin wood, if you have yin wood in your chart. And I'm going to give you I'm going to break these two down because I think this one is important for you to understand. If you chop a tree down, you chop it down, that tree is dead. You really can't do much with it. It might shoot out some sucker shoots, but it's never going to be that big majestic tree that you just cut down. Conversely, yin wood is, unless you literally extrapolate it from the earth and all of the roots and the runners and everything that that vine has um, grown from, it will always bounce back, most likely bounce back. So you can cut it and it's going to spring back up. You could really burn it, even in the scorched time of a drought that we're having here. There's there's plants that can survive, not all of them, but there are going to be many plants that are going to survive the drought, and when the rains come back, maybe hopefully this year or next year, hopefully that they're going to resprout and they're going to come back. I live in a pretty temperate climate, but there are places, obviously, in around the world that are going to get very cold. We're going to see freezing cold weather, and then when the spring comes, poop, it sprouts back up again. You could drench it with water. Boom! When it dries out, it sprouts back up again. So literally, the yin wood is actually more powerful than people make it to be, because it is considered, because it's yin, it's less powerful. Not at all, not at all. So don't distinguish that yin is weak and yang is strong, because you take enough water, you can well, that's yin fire. That's is the real fire. Yang fire is like the sun, but still it can block the sun. It will never take it away. Okay, let's see. So wood is very good for creativity. It's very good for ambition, because it's always trying to grow, and it's very driven um, and very motivated. Um, does like a challenge, actually, can push itself to the limits, because it's just going to keep on trying to grow, and loves adventure. So hopefully you can see the power of that as well. All right, now we're getting to the fire, and almost finished here, you guys. Just hold on for this last element here. So fire is actually considered one of the more unfavorable elements. It's actually one of the weaker elements of 2021, but it's also considered unfavorable. Why? Because we have the yin metal ox, which is in the winter season. The winter season likes to be cold, even though we're in midsummer. At least in the northern hemisphere, we're in midsummer, and it's very hot in most parts. It's scorching hot, like where it's not supposed to be scorching hot. Even up in Canada, like people are dying like in droves over the last week, where it should be very temperate and cool and comfortable. They're having a lot of issues as well, and even in our northern part of the states, where it shouldn't be this excessive heat, we have excessive heat. So what I'm trying to say is it's unfavorable. It shouldn't be that way. So what we're going to see is definitely fire-related issues. So actual forest fires. There's a pretty big one that is in Northern California right now that has hit the Oregon border. That's the state north of us, for those of you who are not in US based. That is where we're going to see this out of control fires. And as winds pick up and that heat picks up, we have what's called dry lightning. So a lot of this is being sparked by that as well. And unfortunately, there are some not so stable people out there that some fires we had a few months ago were actually arson. So we're going to see arsonists as well show up because of this, because it's unfavorable. They're not doing the right thing. But on the flip side, though, you guys, we do need fire, because it's the happiness element. It brings passion, happiness, joy. So we do need some fire, obviously, but when it's unfavorable, and we talk about some of these unfavorable things, that's unfortunate what we're going to be seeing here. So we're going to be seeing explosions. We're going to see volcanic action this year as well. So, but as far as industries are concerned, technologies are going to be just skyrocketing. It's almost like timestamp where we're at right now as far as technologies and just looking at where they're going to be. And I'm going to say where they're going to be in 2024 when we hit the period 9, because people are incubating ideas right now, right? So we're going to see a lot of things that are just going to be like, I just hope I can just keep up with technology because it's going to be moving fast and it's going to be moving furious. So we really need to like kind of choose our right platforms and always stay up to date with it, which is my my assistant Alice will always say, "Whew, man, thank God I have her to help me keep me on track here." But anyway, so we're going to see a rise of terrorism, unfortunately, and that's going to continue through period 9 because that's all about fire. So we're going to see a lot of volatility when it comes to that for sure. Beauty industry. So this is where I want you to start thinking about, even though fire is not favorable in 2021, I want you to start thinking about targeting fire industry. So if you are already in IT, great for you because you're going to make a boatload of money, but there's going to be a lot of people entering into that space as well as having to keep up with that space. So it is something that if you are in anything to do with technologies, my Lord, do you have a year, you have a life of lifelong learning because it is always going to be evolving. But it is a great industry. And I would have to say, probably the younger you are, they're not teaching how to, write, handwrite, cursive. They're teaching programming to, you know, entry level like first and second graders already, so that if they're teaching that as a baseline and taking out handwritten, which is really sad because I like the just the tactileness of paper and a pen and a good pen and all of that, but that's going to the wayside. So that's just something that we have to stay abreast with. And so if you are targeting that industry, just get ready for it because it's ever evolving. The same is going to go with beauty industries. I just heard um, kind of about a week ago about someone that I know that's in her late 20s that is already doing Botox. And it was like, what the heck for? I don't even see a wrinkle on your face. Why in the heck would you do it? And she said, oh, no, they're there. But neither here nor there, beauty industries, whether it be for natural, of trying to keep yourself looking as natural as possible, and or using pharmaceuticals, surgeries, and things like that, beauty industry is going to be off the charts. So that could be anywhere from clothing to actual skin, reconfigurations, I'm going to call it, that you can be thinking about targeting. So that's something I really want you to think about as well. Entertainment, even though we were glued to maybe some past episodes of different things, I think that for sure entertainment is ready to bedazzle us with some new things. Probably interactive things are going to be involved in there as well. Metaphysics, I got that one covered, but maybe that's something you would like to consider to going into yourself, is anything to do with metaphysics, astrology, feng shui. I'm going to put like NLP, EFT, tapping, all of those kinds of alternative ways of getting into higher power energies are something that I can guarantee you are going to be off the charts. So anything to do with visibility for sure, social media platforms, and we've seen nothing. We have seen nothing as far as social media platforms. They are going to be ever evolving, and some of them that we think would never go to the wayside, believe me, um, they will find a way to do kind of get better, or even more private channels and things like that. So these bigger platforms may find a way that they just are no longer significant that as they are today. So those are going to be ever evolving. Spirituality is going to be on the rise. People are looking for hope. They are desperate for solutions and answers. But I do want to also let you know that I'm not talking. Well, maybe I am talking about religion at this point. There are going to be, people that are just going to, follow religion, traditional religion. But then there's also going to be some of the more cultish type um, um, groups that are going to be resurfacing again. Why? Again, people are so dismayed. They're really kind of like tired of the same old, and they're looking for answers. So, be careful in your choosing research groups that you decide to be a part of. But again, like I said, fire is about happiness as well. So do look into that. And do watch out for burnout, because there's so much fire that's going to happen that's available. So in your personal life, do watch for that. But charisma and your outgoingness and your passion and enlightening others. This is definitely there for you to capture. All right, so I've ranked the elements, and this is kind of a global kind of look at it. It's not necessarily saying that from one country to the next, they're all going to be a perfect match. But overall, the metal is for sure going to be one of the stronger elements. Next is water. Next is earth. Earth and wood were very, 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 very close. And the reason I put wood is because the metal was so strong that chopped the wood, and so that lowered the capacity for that. And then we had fire. So that is kind of a look at the global look of looking at the elements, but I'm going to tell you what we're going to talk about on day 2. So day 2, I'm going to take three animals each and every day, and you have run your charts, and then those of the people that you want to be looking at. And we're going to take a deep dive into each one of these animals as well. Now, what I want you to understand, again, is worth repeating, especially if you came in a little bit late today, is that even though you may not have these animals in your chart, they are relevant to everything that I'm going to be talking about, because the ox has a importance when it comes to the feng shui dial. So does the tiger, but so does the rabbit. But what does that mean? Is it good or bad? So I'll be getting into when I talk about the feng shui, but we do need to build. This is the building block week of getting in the animals and all of that first. So that's what you're going to want to stay tuned for tomorrow, is the first 3 animals, and then all the way through Thursday, I'll be doing each one of these particular set of 3 animals. So day 2 is going to be about the ox, tiger, and rabbit. So that's all I have for you today. And let's see if I can get back to, give me just a second here. So that's what we have for you today. I hope you enjoyed the presentation. Please let me know in the comments below. And like I said, I am going to give you my all versus making it a short little video and just giving you snippets of it. And I really want you to get a lot of value about what I am presenting for you absolutely free. So let me see. I think I might have, let me see if I do. Oh, thanks, Geraldine, for tapping in. And I am seeing some other people as well. Thanks, Alexander, for coming in today. Scott, thanks for coming in today. And let's see who we've got here. Did I miss any? Pragu, I'm sorry if I massacred your name, but thank you for coming in today. I really appreciate it, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow when we're going to talk about the next 3 pieces. But like I said, once we get off today, what I want you to think about is how you can get find a product, program, or service that you could bring into the mix, because this is a hands-on presentation. I really want you to get the most value out of being here today. So what I would like you to do is go to bit.ly/stimulate your business. Send this to all of your friends, because what I want you to do is I want you tomorrow to bring an accountability partner and do this together with them, because you're going to need a second set of eyes. You're going to need a second set of feedback from people who are going to help you. And so if you could share this video with your community, I would be ever so grateful, because you are now a part of my community, and I really want to take care of you and the people that you choose to bring in. So have an amazing rest of the day. We'll see you tomorrow, and may good chi follow. Take care. Bye-bye now.